Mr. Aaron, I'm checking the PowerPoint. Is it on? It's on. When you say you got it, you mean you gave it back to me? Okay. Okay. Do you want me to point at you like this when I want it to go? Are we good, Mr. Seagrave? If we can bring the house lights down, then we can start. Awesome. Thank you for your patience. I'm Jack Bannon, the band teacher here at South Valley Junior High School. I'm going to be winging it a little bit this evening in talking to you. It's been a very hectic time getting everything set up with the live stream. Hello, all people watching at home in foreign countries, like we had somebody watch from Japan on our last concert, which I thought was fantastic. So you're in for a great evening of music. I want to send some special thank yous out, starting with Aaron Wilson up in the booth, who's running all of this stuff for us, all the lights, and let us use his auditorium. With Mr. Seagraves, who's also up there, one of our elementary band teachers responsible for the great success for a lot of the people standing behind me, who's working our live stream tonight. Miss Larson, who's helping with our 8th grade and 7th grade, keeping everybody quiet, under control. Mrs. Levy, who's backstage with our band council, who's going to help get all of our chairs and stands set up. They've been working very hard even since school got out. We got to pile a bunch of junior high kids into a white van and drive over here, and that was always an experience, especially when they wave out the window, "Help me." That's not so good when you're the driver, but that's junior high. So I want to thank our administrators. I want to thank Mr. Schley, who is usually able to come to these. He had an emergency. I don't think he's here tonight. He told me right beforehand that he wasn't going to be able to be here. But normally he would be here. I'm sure he'll be watching the live stream at some point. Most importantly, I want to thank every single person behind me for all of their hard work, and every person on this side of me for their hard work on our song. So I'll tell you a little about each one as we go. So I want to start with our jazz band by just reminding you, if you're not familiar, with what to do during jazz solos. So jazz are a little different than they are going to be in a concert band setting, and we'll have some students on each song that are going to stand up and go off to the side and improvise, make up a solo, which is, number one, takes an incredible amount of courage and a lot of skill that we've been working on lately. So it's very appropriate to clap in the middle of the song at the end of each student's solo, and clap enthusiastically, let them know that you appreciate what they did, but also briefly, because a lot of times there's another soloist coming up right behind them, and we want to hear every note that they're going to play. So our first song, which is called A Darker Shade of Blue, features Lucas Ledvina on the alto saxophone and Russ Bingham on the bass trombone. So we'll just go ahead and get started. So you'll notice some movement going on here, and that's because in a jazz band you have specific spots that each instrumentation within the score is supposed to sit. For instance, in the trumpet section, we put the second trumpet on the outside and first trumpet in the middle. And there's reasons for that, because what we call the lead players, the first trumpet, the first trombone, first alto, should roughly be in a line because they're setting the style that everybody else should be listening in towards. And then usually the soloist on the inside towards the rhythm section. But we want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to kind of play some different parts, so we move some people around. So that's why we had a little shift there. Speaking of shift, this quarter has been a little different. And one of our focuses in all three groups you're going to hear tonight is to learn to slow things down, which is almost impossible for junior high, but we do it. And this next tune is a ballad called Sweetie Pie, and it's going to feature, and I actually have it wrong up there, it's going to feature Jackson Rogers, and it says it's on the trumpet, but we decided to switch it out and have him play the flugelhorn, which is one of my favorite instruments in the trumpet family. It's a very mellow sound. So we're going to slow things down with a tune called Sweetie Pie featuring Jackson Rogers. it's always fun for me as a teacher to see the students develop and learn how to do this soloing business. And it's kind of fun to watch them develop and get really good at playing and improvising and coming up with their own stuff, but still being a little too shy to face you or remembering to thank you for your applause. So those are those little nuanced things that we're still working on. So when they sound really good, clap real loud so they remember to turn around and say thank you. This next song is actually pretty tough, particularly for our saxophones. It's one of the most famous tangos ever written, called Liber Tango. And this one features Tegan Devlin on the tenor saxophone. But in reality, it actually features a lot of different sounds in this. The entire saxophone section has a really, really hard part in this song. And they're playing it really well. They're getting a lot of fingers and different notes, and it's really cool. You're really going to like this one. All right, you guys ready? And I got to add this part. So you got to listen. I'm going to put a little pressure on them. But you got to listen for the very last note for Logan Walker. Sorry, the wrong Logan. Logan Walker's over there. For Logan Wise, who's going to play a note that usually junior high kids can't even come close to hitting. And he can actually play quite a bit higher than this, but he might be a little nervous. But listen for it, because it was really cool in rehearsal today. Mr. Kozak, are you here? Awesome. He's over on this side. So while we clear the stage and move all of the stuff out of the way so you can see our 7th grade band, I'm going to have Mr. Kozak. I invited him to come talk to you. He's the band director here at Campo Verde, and this is a great opportunity for him to talk to people that are going to be the parents of his future students. So I can't wait to hear what these guys sound like when they're in his jazz band.
Good evening. How about another hand for that jazz band? Really good. So I'm a time filler right now. They're going to be making some adjustments, and so I just have a couple things I wanted to share with you. First of all, thank you so much for being here and supporting your students and their music. My name is Mr. Kozak. If you have not met me, I'm the band director here at Campo Verde High School, also the department chair for the Performing Arts Department. And I just want to share with you a couple of really important things that are great that are going on here at the high school, and also just encourage you to continue supporting your students in their musical journeys, because man, it only gets better as they get older and as they get more talented and they get more exposure and they get more opportunities. As Mr. Bannon said, I can't wait, after listening to the jazz band play, I can't wait to work with these students next year and be able to help them grow even more and become even better than they already are, because they sound fantastic. But man, when you get to high school, there's just so much growth that happens in those 4 years. As you can imagine, just think back a little bit to 5th grade and all of the interesting sounds that came from your students' instruments, and the times that they probably got made fun of in school, and they got made fun of because it sounded like that trombone sounded like a fart, right? And you have to endure all of those sounds during 5th grade. And then in 6th grade, it starts to sound a little bit better. And then in 7th grade, as you're about to hear, it sounds even better. And then in 8th grade, it sounds even better. Well, we have those 4 years where they've developed. And then imagine when you get to high school and you're immersed in this culture of excellence that we've built here at Campo Verde. And after 4 years of growing here, and actually after even just 1 year, you're going to hear just an amazing transformation. I am happy to report that we've gotten some of our preliminary numbers back, and there are so many students that are continuing on, more than I think we've had. This is either the second highest or the first highest number of students that we have continuing into the high school program. So I want to thank all the 8th grade families for that. And they're in for a treat. The high school, we do a lot of really fun things. We travel to all of the football games and have a great time there. We had 31 of our students make the regional honor band for our region up against a bunch of other schools. We took the band this last December, the marching band, to Hawaii and marched in the Pearl Harbor Parade in Hawaii, which was just an amazing experience. 3 years ago, we did the parade in downtown London, the New Year's Day parade there. So we're now starting to plan for our next big adventure. We try to do a big trip like that every 3 years, just so that first of all, it doesn't, every 2 years is a little bit too much on the finances, right? But every 4 years, you might not get a chance to go if you're a freshman and you don't go on the trip. We would hate for somebody to not get that chance. So we try to plan for about every 3 years. We take a big trip, so we're looking at that. And there's just some amazing things that are coming down the pipe for the students here at Campo. So please encourage your students to continue on. I see so many 7th graders up here on the stage. All of these 7th graders should be continuing on into 8th grade band. And then when they get into 8th grade band, I want all of those students to continue on into high school, because it's so much fun when they get to the high school and we do so many of these really cool things. And I just want to make sure that you're encouraging your students. The number one thing that students say as a reason for not doing band in high school is conflicts with sports. That's the number one thing that I've found that students say. It's like, well, I have to do football, or I have to do track, or I have to do hockey is a big one this year, and there's a lot of club hockey players. One of the things, and I had a conversation with a parent a couple weeks ago at freshman orientation night. I was an athlete in high school too, and I love having athletes in our program. So I am willing to work with our students and work with your students and make sure that they can be well-rounded. They should be in sports, but they can also be in band at the same time. I had a student one time who was on the varsity football team. It was the coolest thing ever, because when the team was playing, the rule was if it was a close game, he had to go into the locker room at halftime. But if the team was winning by a lot or losing by a lot, he was able to march with us. So what he would do is we would bring his trumpet out to the field, we'd bring his shoes, and then he would take his pads off, his helmet off, and he would just march with the band in his shell, is what they call it. And so we thought it was the coolest thing. The community was like, wow, there's a football player in the band. And we're like, yeah, it's great. It's an awesome thing for people to be involved in multiple things. So I just want to encourage you, if your student says, I can't do band because of sports, that is not true at all. Right? There's plenty of athletes that we have, student athletes that are in the marching band and that are in the band program, especially just the concert band during the daytime. No problems with that. The second most common answer for why students might not do band in high school is, I don't know, I just want to try other things. I can understand that, and I have a daughter that's a freshman, and she wants to try lots of things too. But the great thing is, their freshman year, they actually can have 3 electives, and which is different than when they were in 8th grade, they got 2 electives, and in 7th grade, they got 1 elective. So in high school, their freshman year, they can have 3 electives. So that gives them the opportunity to do their foreign language and band and still do another class that they want to explore and see what they want to, maybe a career choice of some sort. So I just want to make sure that you know that, and then on top of that, here's a little insider information. My daughter took her Spanish class online. There's options for people to do things online. So now you can have 4 electives if you want during your freshman year. There's plenty of options for people. So I don't want people to think that, oh, I want to try other things. You can. Go ahead, try other things. Be involved in other activities. But I would really, 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 really strongly encourage that they've done band for 4 years and they've gotten this far. Let them do band at least 1 year in high school and see what it's like. And then when they make that decision after 1 year and they're like, yeah, it's great, I love it, then we'll be really happy that we tried it out. And if they decide after their freshman year, they're like, yeah, I did it, but there's some other things I really want to try. I'm not the type of person that's going to force anybody to do anything, but I just strongly encourage them to do it at least for 1 year. So there's a couple of 8th graders that I know that are kind of on the fence, and I just want to encourage them, give it a try. I'm encouraging your families, give it a try, because it's a lot of fun when we get to high school. So thank you again so much for everything that you do for your students. I really appreciate the community support that we have here. There's no way that Campo Verde could be the program that it is without Mr. Bannon, without these students, and without you supporting music in your homes. So thank you again for all that you do, and I look forward to meeting you and your family soon when your students are at the Campo Band program. So thank you. Have a good night.
I can't even begin to tell you how proud I am of this 7th grade group and the different levels of where everybody started. If I remember correctly, everybody in this group started on, Mr. Ski Grace, tell me if this is right, these guys started online during COVID, is that correct? Okay, he gave me a thumbs up, but I can't say anything but the lights. So their first exposure to an instrument wasn't with a teacher that could show them and put their hands in the right position. It was through a video screen, which is really difficult to do. And the fact that they've overcome and worked and sound as good as you're going to hear tonight is a true testament to their work ethic and to their dedication to music. And I'm hoping that that will continue all the way through Mr. Kozak's band. We also have 15 students in here who were beginners this year, who didn't even know how to open the case and are now performing with you tonight. On top of that, just last week on Thursday, we went on a field trip to our own Gilbert District Band Festival for junior high school. So all of the junior highs in our district went and played for 3 independent judges who listened to us, gave us comments and scores based on how we performed. And those scores started superior, then they dropped to excellent and good and fair and poor. And superior really means that when these other judges go around the state and hear all kinds of bands, that if they give you a superior score, then they believe that you're superior to most of the bands that they hear. And we actually got all 3 judges gave us the superior score, which means superior with distinction. That's the highest score you can get, and I think they deserve it too. I'm going to ask it this time because we have so much stuff going on. Our 8th graders have a field trip Thursday, but this coming Saturday, we are taking 30-some students to the Arizona All-State, which is an ensemble that we try out for, you audition for, they compete against their peers who play the same instrument. So I'm going to ask that all our 7th graders who made it into All-State, even as an alternate, to please stand up. So they will be playing a concert next Saturday at Saguaro High School along with the best of their instruments across the state. So I'm going to stop talking and we're going to start playing our next song. It's called As Twilight Falls. Again, a nice slow one that's very, very pretty. So try and think of a scene where maybe you're just by yourself and you get a nice peaceful moment, and this is the soundtrack to that scene. forgot I was going to try not to talk in between the pieces, but I forgot to introduce the next piece right away. The next piece you got to hear a few weeks ago, about a month ago, at our 6th grade festival. And you're going to get to hear it tonight after we've refined it a little bit, taken it to our festival, gotten feedback from the judges on it. It's called Tornado. And it starts out hearing the blast of the tornado in the distance, and then we experience what it's like to be in that town when the tornado siren goes off, and then the whole chaos of it. So hope you enjoy Tornado. And I do want to just, if there's anybody in the Midwest watching, I know that we have some tornado stuff going on right now. And so we'll dedicate this to you, and please stay safe.
Probably
Please rise for our national anthem. So I talked about the festival that our 7th graders went to last Thursday. Our 8th graders go to a festival this Thursday, the day after tomorrow. And it's pretty impressive that they spent 2 hours taking an end-of-year math test today. They're going to spend 2 hours taking a test tomorrow. We're going to have about a 30-minute class to run through our music again. And then, boom, 9 o'clock in the 8:45 in the morning, we're on our way to a field trip. And the festival they're going to is the Arizona Band and Orchestra Directors Association Festival. So it's a little bit bigger deal. And there's going to be bands from all across the state that are going to be performing there. These next 2 pieces we're going to play are the ones that we're going to play at that festival for a grade. The first one, On the Cary Shore, I had to kind of look it up. I didn't want to tell my students in class because, well, they're junior high and it's a funny word, but they're going to hear it now. This song, Kerry, is a county in Ireland, and we've talked about the shores of Ireland and how pretty in that area is. This particular piece was actually written by the composer for a particular town in Kerry called Dingle. That's what I was afraid of. And I looked it up. When you get a chance, I might want to move there when I retire. It's absolutely beautiful. So On the Cary Shore is supposed to depict this small harbor town in Ireland. And then we completely contrast that with our second piece, Flurry for Winds and Percussion, where everything is kind of moving really fast, particularly in our percussion sections, and we get to end nice and strong. So we didn't get to practice this in class, so please listen carefully. On our first one, where there's a trumpet soloist, Logan Wise, and so we didn't get to do this, and this is something that I need to do as a teacher. At the end, when we go to stand, I'm going to point to Logan first. He'll stand up to acknowledge his solo, and then I'll have everyone stand. And then on the last song, I will do the same thing to Vicky Yang, our flautist solo. And one quick shout out, we talked about All-State. I'm going to ask our 8th graders who made Arizona All-State to please stand up. All right, so our first song, On the Cary Shore. Thank you all very much for coming. We are finished. I am going to ask that our 8th graders help each one take a chair and a stand to put on the racks in the back so we can make Mr. Wilson's job a little bit easier. And that's it. Thank you very much for coming and enjoying our third quarter concert.